What's up, everybody? Let me get this tweet out real quick. All right, what's up? Hey, Sam, how are you? How's everybody doing? Make sure, let me know if the levels sound okay, because I did adjust some things over the week. I was on my audio interface, and I don't know if I got them set back correctly. So if I sound quiet, just let me know. If I sound too loud, just let me know. Is what it is. We'll get it fixed. All right, thanks, Rob. How's everybody doing? Are you guys enjoying your weekend? What's up, Josh? What's up, Robbie? How's everybody? Damn, Cruz is the man. He's already retweeting the tweet. Guys, if you guys can retweet the tweet I put out, or share it on Instagram or wherever, try to get more people in here to watch this while we're live. Obviously, I feel like there's a lot of benefits to doing it live, right? The ability to interact, the ability to answer questions live, you know, just to have that one-on-one feeling with the people that are watching this, as opposed to just people watching it later at their own pace, which obviously if that's all you can do, that's all you can do, and that's great too. So hopefully people are watching it that can't watch it live, but please share the tweet so more and more people know about this. Hey, what's up, Jordan? Hopefully this week's episode is short, sweet, and to the point. Sometimes these can drag on. I know not everybody wants to sit through an hour and 15 minutes of me blabbering, but what's up, Javier? Javier, you're not joining us from Bagville, are you? Baggyville or Bag City? There's Cruz. What's up, brother? We'll start here in just a minute and a half. Always try to start right at 2 my time, 5 p.m. market time. What's up, Sunil? Yeah, having a good weekend. One of the things I've been doing lately is I finish up my Sunday prep on Friday so that I have Saturday completely off, and then Sunday don't really have to think about too much until it's time to go live here. What's up, Joe? Baghdad. I like that one too. Bag City, Baggyville, Baghdad. We need to know the population of Baghdad so that we can so we can figure out if it's a substantial level. Baghdad, I like that one. Man, it's hot in San Diego, but I had the air conditioning on. I think it was last Sunday prep, maybe it was the one before that. When I listened to it later on, I was like, dude, you could the air conditioning is kind of loud. The microphone picks it up a little too much, and I was like, you know what? I'll try not to use the air conditioning while I do this. All right, guys, let's just get this thing cracking. Welcome to the Sunday Prep. I am Ricky Analog. I am a moderator over at TrueTrader. If you guys don't know about TrueTrader, check them out, truetrader.net. If you would like to join, there's a promo code. I believe it's all caps YouTube. Gets you 20% off. There's one that's, I believe, long haul in all caps. If you want to sign up for the longer subscription, there's a 5-day trial, which I believe is $30 or something, unbelievably affordable. Check us out if you don't understand the system that we trade, because a lot of it has to do with the way I prepare for the week as well, right? So if you don't know what we do over there, some of this stuff may sound confusing. If you don't have a broker that you can trust, that you absolutely love, that you're head over heels for, please check out Cobra. There's a link in the description for them. You will get 25% off your commissions. I say this every week. That adds the F up. I'm telling you, 52 weeks of trading. At the end of the year, when you look at your commissions, if you were to say, man, I wonder how much I would have saved if I cut that by 25%, it's a lot of money. And you also get 1 month free of whatever platform you choose to use, whether it's DOS or Sterling. Spikeet, I can't say enough good things about these guys. I use them thoroughly for all types of back testing and looking to see if there's an edge in the data for whatever setup that it is that I am trying to figure out. And not only just to find edge, but also to figure out when there's not edge. Like, dude, there's so many times when people think they discovered like a pattern or a setup or something in the market, and they don't go and find the data to support it. Sometimes when you go to find the data tells you there is no edge, and that's just as important. But you need this kind of stuff in order to cut down on the time it takes to do that, to make it streamlined, powerful. Like, can't tell you guys enough good things about Spikeet. There's a link in the description for them as well. Scriptstotrade makes hands down the best indicators for TradingView and Thinkorswim. If they don't already have the indicator that you would like, if you can dream it up, they can make it. They can do custom made indicators. Really, really great guys to work with. Earnings this week, lots of big names. We had a really busy week last week, a really busy week the week before. This week's going to be really busy as well. Make sure you know who's reporting. Make sure you don't get caught off guard. Like I always say, guys, this is a business. You need to treat it like a business. We're not here to play games, okay? Traders for a Cause. Actually, Cruz was asking about this the other week. I will be there. I'm going to probably just be on a panel. I'll probably just speak on a panel, but I will be there. I love going to this event every year. It's literally the coolest thing as a trader to be able to participate in. You get to meet all the guys that we know and love from all the different rooms and from FinTwit and, places where it's like, what we do is a very isolated, boring, solitary job, right? So it's nice to put a face to the name, meet people that, you may have talked to extensively online, but you just never shook their hand. And at the same time, support a really great cause and, learn too, right? Like the amount of information that you can walk away with can be the difference between, having another one of those years that's kind of just treading water and you having your breakout year and going parabolic with your P&L. And so that's all the housekeeping. Let's talk about the subject I want to talk about today. It's actually I'm going to piece together a few different things. Nothing really I wanted to just focus too much on singly, but I did have a few different things I wanted to talk about. One was just this concept of, how absolutely ridiculously short life is, and you might never really understand that till it's too late. Like, I want you guys to realize that, like, it's not just a cliche. I mean it when I say this. Is like, that no matter how much we talk about, like, God, I wish my kids wouldn't grow up so fast, or I wish there was like 36 hours in a day so I could get more done, or time just keeps on flying. It's all just lip service if you don't absolutely realize that the clock never stops ticking, ever. From the time you're born to the time you're put in the grave, that clock just ticking down. And you don't have a clue how long you have. Like, none of us know. Like, Kobe was on Earth for 40 years, 41 years. And he was one of the most successful, healthy, happy people ever. And, even he wasn't granted the blessing of a long, long life, right? And so your goal, your job is to make the most of what you have, not even knowing what you have, right? And this isn't just about, I know when I talk about this, a lot of times you guys think what I mean is to focus on just the things that matter, right? Spend time with your friends and family, and don't make everything about your job, because you are not your job. We trade, we trade to live. We don't live to trade. And I totally mean that, right? But I also mean that, like, when you are focusing on what we do for a living, right? When you're honing your craft, stop wasting effing time. Like, put the focus in when it needs to be put in. Put the work in when it needs to be put in. And, you know, find that balance. There needs to be balance. Family, friends, happiness, passion, and then work. And there's, you know, you're going to oftentimes feel like there isn't enough time. But I'm willing to bet that the majority of you would be blown away by how much time you actually have if you cut out on all the bullshit. Cut out the social media. Cut out the fucking TV. Cut out the mindless BS that you spend time doing, and start focusing on where your priorities align with your goals. And you've got to make it so that you're not wasting your precious time, because it's bullshit to sit there and say, like, I don't have enough. If only I had some more time, I could accomplish X, Y, and Z, right? Well, what about the people that do accomplish X, Y, and Z? Do they have 30 hours a day? Is there some secret that they know that I don't? Because if there is, then somebody needs to, like, please put a link to that in the description, or put a link to that in my chat, because sign me up. But as far as I know, everybody's got the same 24 hours, right? So if that means sleeping an hour less, if that means, you know, not watching your favorite TV show for a month while you freaking take that hour a day or an hour a week, whatever it generates you, right? If maybe it's one of those, it only comes on once a week, right? But you spend that hour watching it. What if you just took that hour and devoted it to whatever it is you feel like you don't have enough time for, right? And yeah, so what? You don't get to watch a fucking TV show. Screw it, right? Sacrifice the things that don't matter for the things that do matter. Okay, and so the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, I'm going to try to keep this moving, but I listened to a certain podcast on Spotify. I'll try to share the link later. It's not called, like, on Spotify, it's not called Motiversity, but I believe that is what the name of the series is Motiversity. And it's just motivational type of speeches and speakers giving talks on everything that, you know, can help you try to be the best version of yourself, right? And a lot of times, so it's whether I'm at the gym or I'm driving and I'm listening to this, you know, like, I love music, right? I'm a huge hip hop head. And it's like become one of those things that has been put on the back burner for me. Like, I used to you would never see me driving my vehicle without my favorite hip hop songs just cranked to the max. You almost will never find me driving my vehicle anymore listening to music, because I need to devote that time. I guess this fits perfectly with what I was just saying, right? Like, I'm using that time when I'm driving to try to maximize or optimize my use of that time. And so I'm listening to those things instead. And a lot of times those things that I'm listening to, the person talking will say something that really just hits home. And, you know, the other week in the gym, I don't remember who I was listening to, like whether it was, you know, Jocko or David Goggins or Eric Thomas or whoever. Somebody had said something that just kind of really struck a chord with me about just this, like, flipping the negative things on their heads and not being a complainer. Stop complaining about shit, because, you know, we all want rainbows and flowers and beautiful things in our lives, but, like, those things don't come without rain, right? And so I put out a tweet last week, which was me basically attempting to summarize what that guy is saying in my own words, right? And this was the tweet, and it's just talking about flip this concept on its head, right? I actually talked to the guys in TrueTrader about this a lot, and I may have said this on Twitter before too, but, like, somebody told me this trick. It's a life hack that somebody taught me a long time ago about how to become a disciplined trader. And that was to put on a trade, and the second you put the trade on, you actually beg the market to stop you out. Like, come on, stop me out. I dare you to hit my stop. I bet you can't hit my stop. And when it stops you out, you celebrate. You, instead of being upset and getting mad, you get happy. You jump out of your chair and you celebrate. You even, like, later that day, you might take yourself out for ice cream or, you know, do something. And what you're doing is you're flipping it on its head. You're basically reinforcing the positive connection to being a disciplined trader. So this was the same concept, flipping something on its head. Instead of complaining about every time you face something that is an adverse situation, get excited about it. Be happy about it. Smile. Why? Because if you absolutely recognize the fact that it's the recipe, it's exactly what you need for growth and progress, then you should be thankful for that adverse situation, because it's giving you an opportunity. It's giving you an opportunity to grow and become the best version of yourself. And it wasn't like 2 days after that, I was kind of digging into some books that I should be reading about things like that. And I stumbled upon Ryan Holiday, and now I'm reading The Obstacle is the Way. And then after that, I'm going to go and read his previous book, which was Ego is the Enemy. And ego, I mean, we could do a whole Sunday prep on ego and how it is basically every trader's arch nemesis. And maybe we will. But we'll focus right now on The Obstacle is the Way and how that applies to trading. And not just trading, but in life, right? So in trading, you're probably going to face more obstacles than most people prefer to. It's just part of the job. It's what we sign up for. And I was trying to think of examples of it, and honestly, there's really too many examples to go through. The first one that popped into my head is and I know a personal friend who's a trader that I work with who was purposefully put himself under PDT. Why? Why would you do that? Well, I see a lot of people that they're put in under PDT not by their choice, but because of circumstance. They lost on a trade, or maybe they just didn't have enough money to start with, right? And they complain. Well, let's flip that on its head. Let's practice what we preach. How can you flip that on its head? How can being under PDT be a good thing? Let's start with this. It forces you to be selective. If you're only getting 3 trades every 5 rolling days, guess what? You got to be picky. You can't just be gunslinging, shooting everything that moves. And this may be the best thing for you, especially if you're just starting out. It's a blessing in disguise, but you're going to complain about it, right? Look for the positive. Look for the benefit. Maybe you took a big loss. Maybe it wasn't even your fault. Maybe it was like a platform error or broker issue, or maybe it was you broke a rule. Whatever caused it. It's an opportunity for you to address a hole that was in your system, something like a weakness in your armor. It's an opportunity. It's not a negative. You have to, and I'm speaking from personal experience, guys. Don't think that I don't take big losses sometimes and have to assess what the F just happened. How can I come back from this? How can I not just come back, but come back better and stronger? And so, like I said, guys, it's not just in trading either. Make sure you understand that this applies to every aspect of life and all the different things that you're going to face. You need to figure out a way to flip it from a negative to a positive. And good example is just the other day, right? I ordered a new espresso machine, and it was supposed to get here, I think Monday. But the tracking, somehow it got here earlier, and it was, oh my God, it was going to arrive on Saturday. And I was so excited. I got my expectations through the roof. I can't wait to get this machine. And, I took my kids to an event. We went to this thing with a bouncy house and all this stuff. And we came back, and there was a note on the door from UPS saying, I missed the delivery. They'll try me again on the next business day, which means Monday because it was a Saturday, right? And I got upset. I literally let this ruin my mind state. I went from being happy to being pissed off. And I realized, not till later, right? This was in hindsight that I realized, dude, this is my weakness. This is my weakness, is that I get upset too easily. And this is life's way of showing you it, of throwing a test at you and me miserably failing, right? Now, the best part about it is that I recognized it. And now that I realize, holy crap, I've been failing this test over and over and over in life, I'm ready for the next one. And in fact, I used it as a way to reset mentally. I'm not upset. Now I was like, dude, it's actually a great lesson in how to be grateful. Because who cares I didn't get my new espresso machine? I'm no worse off than I was the day before, and I still have all these things in my life to be grateful for, right? So now I'm conscious about it. Now I'm ready. Now I'm like, the next time life throws this challenge at me, my goal is to win, is to be better, to not have my happiness stolen from me because it was so cheaply taken, right? So again, a lot of times when I do these Sunday preps, these are me reminding myself of things I need to be reminded of, not just me talking to you guys about how you should live your life, right? Trust me, I am a human. I bleed red just like you guys, and I put my pants on 1 foot at a time. So that's all I wanted to talk about. We're gonna get into the actual prep now, and hopefully it's a good one this week. And just remember all the stuff we talked about in the intro. Maybe I'll try to sum it up at the end, because again, I think it's important just to help you become the best version of yourself. Like, sometimes we talk about things that you can do to improve your trading. This week it's more something that I think you can implement to actually just help you improve your life. All right, guys. So that being said, let's get into the disclaimer real quick. Neither I, TrueTrader, or any of our representatives are registered as security broker dealers. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Anything you hear me talk about is simply my opinion. It's not a solicitation to buy or sell any stocks. It's for entertainment purposes only. All right. So here we are, guys. Here's your ES chart. You guys should all be familiar with this. This is a monthly chart. Zoom out, guys. Always zoom out. Remember, actually, a good friend of mine, Josh, had tweeted earlier, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, about people seem so surprised that the rally, it's a bear market rally. I can't believe how far the rally's gone. And he's like, dude, stop being surprised, because the market can do crazy things. That's why it's, we are able to benefit from the inefficiencies, right? And I commented on his tweet. I said, look, the people that are saying wow or blown away at this rally need to zoom out. If you zoom out to a monthly or a weekly chart, like here's a monthly and here's a weekly, there's no wow here. These aren't wows. This is how stocks move. These are a very, very controlled trend. This is how trends form and develop. It's no wow at all. So let's just quickly talk about what I'm seeing. Last week, we broke the previous week's highs. It was also the monthly bar break up. Remember, if the higher time frames want to continue the downtrend, then this is what will eventually become the next lower high on this monthly time frame. And the only other thing I wanted to note is that if you guys stop zooming in on like daily charts or even intraday charts, and start looking at things like these weeklies, what you'll realize is this is an absolute clinic on how textbook trends operate. And it's absolutely mind-blowing at how it's been doing it so perfectly, to the point where I don't know if it can continue to stay so textbook. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, it's just like push up into the weekly 20, new lows. Failed long trigger, rollover, new lows. Long trigger, gets back to the target. Will we continue lower? I don't know, but the trend's just so easy to read lately in terms of it's doing what it's supposed to do. That it kind of makes me think we're going to end up getting some. Let me see if I can find the drawing tool here. Here we go. No, yeah, the brush. Okay, it makes me think that maybe actually I need to draw it like this. All right, instead of just doing the simple trend that everybody's kind of seeing here, which would be whether it's like this and then we come lower or whatever, is maybe to start to build a base and make it start to look kind of bullish. We get like some sideways action, and then have it really start to go as though like, oh shit, the bear market is over, and then we get the next leg down, and then it becomes a little more unforeseen and, you know, catches more people off guard, because I feel like what we've been seeing really isn't that surprising. I did put a chart up in, I think it was just in our room. I don't know if it was it the weekly chart? Let me zoom out. Yeah. So this is the great financial crisis, right? 2008, 2009. And I just put a question out there just saying, are we here, right? We've had the one push, the second one that failed to get back to the weekly 20. Then we get the long trigger and we do get to the weekly 20. So we're kind of up in here. We still have the weekly 50 up ahead of us, which we could test, but that's what I said, remember? And then we come lower, and then you get a panic move down, right? And that was when we really went into that tailspin in late 09. And here we are, you know, looks very, very similar. Now, it may not unfold exactly the same, but at least we have case studies to look at, right? So if you guys aren't studying prior bear markets and trying to see similarities, how things play out, what happens next, you're really selling yourself short. You guys have all that at your disposal, right? Use it. So levels that I'm playing this week. Let's start with the support levels. The first one's going to be this. What did I write? I just put 4K, I believe. No, actually, I'm sorry. 4,080, which is the previous week's lows, as well as that last. You see, there's some levels from prior there, but that's the closest one. Honestly, we might just gap to right below it. Come here in a few hours, right? Actually, probably less than that. Below that is the 4,000 level, and remember, it's not just like it's an area, right? We have the long trigger up here, the last long trigger that sent us up into the weekly 20. You have your annual pivot, your quarterly pivot, your monthly pivot, and your 20-day, all in that same area. So that to me is like the real key level. Below that is going to be this 39.50 area, which is by your 50-day. Which was also, that was the long trigger that mattered, right? That was the one that we could see on the weekly chart. Let me just zoom back out, right? That was this one where you got the higher low, the intermediate high, and the break of it. That was that 39.50 area. Okay, so that's a very important one for me. And then below that, this upwards trend line, anywhere in this area in this 3,800 level. Okay. I don't know if we get down there this week or not. Again, I don't ever act like I have a crystal ball. I give you guys levels that I know when we come into those levels, I'm able to create if-then statements, okay? So levels to the upside, what did I write down? 4170, which is the previous week's highs, as well as some highs from that consolidation period back in June. 4,300. And the monthly pivot and the monthly 20, which is up here. And it's kind of getting close up into the descending 200-day, as well as these recent highs. So I really do like this 4,300 level up here, guys. And that's it. That's all I have written down this week for the ES. So let's get into the NQ. As always, the exact same things I was just talking about with the ES apply to this. You know, we've run right up into this downtrend. Again, the trend lines are just visual guides. They don't mean anything other than that. So if this reverses from here, great. If not, it's fine. It's not like, that's not the way I use these trend lines. I still like this. Well, let's get into the support levels first, okay? Previous week's lows, which puts us into the upper side of the weekly 20 as well. I'll draw this line from here to these highs from, well, these lows here, this low here. So you have all these levels, right? I don't know why it stays there. So one test, a bunch of tests, we come below it. When we test from the underside, it rejects. Now we're above it. So first kind of test back down above it, I'm thinking is going to act as some support. We'll see. Below that, 12.7. Below that, 12.5 is what 12.5 in the 20-day. And then below that, 12.2. Just call it 12.200 in the 50-day. Okay. Above it, previous week's highs is what I wrote down, 13,400, and then 13,550, which is the up here by the monthly pivot, as well as those highs from back here. And then above that, the quarterly pivot with the descending 200-day and the underside of the monthly 20 and the 14,000 round psychological level. Bitcoin, still just going sideways, guys. Still just stuck in this channel. We talked about this last week, and that is, you know, we had the trigger to get back to the weekly 20. There's things in front of us that may prevent us from getting there in a straight line, like the psychological 25K level, that 28,000 level, which was important. But as we go sideways, right, the weekly 20's coming down, catching up. I don't know if we attack it or if it comes down or if we just fail to get up there and we make new lows. But anything in between then is really just noise. And we said that last week. I'll say it again this week. You know, we can go sideways as long as we want. I don't care. It's up to the author. That doesn't mean we can't figure out important levels to play off of if you wanted to trade either crypto or crypto-related equities. Coinbase reports this week. Coinbase was in play huge last week. I have no reason to think that it's going to have a less than stellar week, whether that's up or down. Like, you guys understand, I trade short and long. All I need is the liquidity and the range. So Coinbase is that. So Coinbase gets traded a lot. And there's a lot of names very similar, right? So Mara is going to be in play. Riot's in play. And so you kind of need to know your levels anyway. 20K, you have the 50-day at 21.5. Above that, 25K, and then 28K. So I'm still playing against the levels that are the key black and white obvious levels. But again, as far as what I think's happening with Bitcoin and where it's going right now, it's just kind of heading sideways, and this is just noise. That's what I call it, because a lot of people will call it chop. That's what they'll call it. It's chop. No, it's not. Zoom out, guys. It's not chop. It's just a move being digested and getting ready for the next leg, whether it's up or down. But the author of the story is the trend. Read the trend, and you'll be able to understand why it's not chop, right? Maybe you call it chop because you're looking at the wrong time frame. All right, let's get into the sector analysis. I'm going to quickly head over to bar chart. The only one that stands out is energy. It had a really, really bad week for the sector. That doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's not going to have long opportunities. Of course, we'll get into that, but everything else was kind of just, you know, very middle of the road. Oh, and that's what I forgot to tell you guys is about both ES and NASDAQ. The one thing that I did want to point out is that they finally had a narrow week, right? Like this, we've had these really wide weeks, right? Even the ones that are narrower are still pretty damn wide. The one that's most recent, comparably, was the week of May 31st, and even it was wider than this. This was by far the most narrow price range week we've had in the indices for a while. And you know, we've been talking about how that might actually be beneficial in terms of what would help us to start to steady the boat, right? And you know, it wouldn't be a bad look if not even just the weekly chart could put in a narrow range candle, but maybe a monthly candle that's a little more narrow. Maybe start building some bases. But we finally got that on the weekly candles. So I'm sorry I forgot about that, but the bar chart reminded me when you see all these sectors that just had very like weeks, right? So let's get into the ETFs real quick, and we'll kind of peer in below the hood. XRT, trigger, target, right? We talked about this. It was valid, but the target was right there, and there was no real reason to think like why should we get long when the weekly 20 was right there, and as well as that weekly or that key resistance line at 6750 area. So now we're in the resistance. Unless it reclaims and holds above that 6750 level, I don't really see any reason to have any long ideas in this sector. I will possibly look to have some shorts in this sector on individual names if we stay below these current last week's highs, right? I feel like this does have some room to come back in. XLF, this one's still behaving really well, right? Like, reminds me of XBI before we got the big move up, right? The pullbacks hold key levels, and then we start to churn. We can get pushing. Okay, this, you know, slightly a little more room up to the target of the weekly 20. At that point, up into the 34s, I may look for near-term short ideas, but I still think the play is to look for pullbacks into this 32.30 area and see if we put in a higher low on the weekly chart and certain names start to look good for pushes, because I really do like this sector and the way it's been behaving. Real estate, target, we talked about this last week, that it was up into the resistance. The resistance held, maybe pushes up into that, playing against last week's highs as your levels, your over under. If you want, I don't see any long ideas unless we were to come back down into 42. And again, not a sector, not a sandbox I play a lot in. XLV, we finally got that test of 134. If we reclaim it and hold, might get a leg up. As long as we stay below it, I think we could still roll over. Again, still kind of, in my opinion right now, I would like to wait for more clarity. This is right in the middle of no man's land, in my opinion, and no need to get involved until it starts to show its hand. XLB, resistance held like a champ. I think, again, if you wanted to trade names in this sector, you could do so short using last week's highs as your over-under. XLI, still think this one could come a little higher, 97.30, 97.40, and then possibly look for the fade, but who knows? This consolidation up here may just break down. If it breaks to the upside, I wouldn't just jump in front of it. I would wait to see how it behaves at that next key level. Again, not a sandbox I play in very often. Utilities. Yes, we reclaimed this downtrend, but we're still holding below the 75.50 area. Above that, and it starts to hold, maybe just kind of reminds me of that XLV, the 134 level. Would need a reclaim and hold of that before I started to look for longs in that sector. Same with this one over 75.50. If you wanted to play it on the short side, as long as we stay under last week's highs, I think there could be some room to come back in. XLP, this level really held well. We're still below this trend line that we had lost. I think maybe up into 75.30, 75.40, I may look for fades in this sector. But yeah, the thing I did write down is flushes down to this 73.30 area may also provide long ops, right? But reclaiming 75.70 and then holding, that to me says a lot more about the long side, and that there's more clarity given if that happens, right? So I know a lot of this sounds repetitive, but it's because that's just where the market's at right now. XLY, this one is, I might play it against Thursday's highs for fade. I'd like higher, like into this 170 area. But again, this is a sector I'm watching for the fades. Communication sector, just like we talked about last week, when the market, this sector still has relative weakness. Last week, it was, well, not last week, 2 weeks ago, it was much more visible because the market was ripping and this couldn't hardly get going. It's not as visible, but still, it's just coiling up. Now, it doesn't mean it can't rip. A lot of times when things tighten up like this and build this range, they can get a move higher. But I think because of that relative weakness that's just underlying this sector, if it starts to break down, I will probably be looking to fade names in the communication sector. XBI, whew, that thing got moving. It got moving, and it took mRNA with it, or maybe mRNA took this with it. But as we've been saying, this just has been behaving so well. Now we are up into resistance, the underside of the 200-day. Lots of resistance, not just a downtrending line, not just the 200-day, but you also have these levels up here. Whoops. You have the quarterly and monthly pivot right there. There's a lot of things that I'm watching coming into this week where if I see lower highs and some exhaustion move up, I may look to fade certain names here. And that doesn't mean I don't think we eventually go higher, right? I think eventually we break out of this downtrend, kind of like we saw XOP. It's easier to see on a weekly chart. These long forming downtrends that finally get broke and then we get follow through. I think we can see that on XBI. Okay, I think we can get out of this downtrend and possibly push. But I think when things get ahead of themselves, they got to take a breather. And I want to be there to capitalize on the day trades of these things, right? Remember, guys, I'm a day trader. All right, XLK, this is the one. I'm looking for this to stuff up here. I'll hopefully a little higher, but this might be where we start to reverse. You know, you got to remember that even though when you stare at these daily charts, the QQQ or the NQ or XLK, you're like, holy cow, this bear market rally's been incredible. But when you zoom out and start looking at weeklies and monthlies, you realize these could be lower highs in the bigger picture downtrends, right? So I want to make sure when everybody's going, oh my God, max FOMO, I missed out, the bear market's over, pile in long, I want to be there when they get punished. All right, XLE, remember what I said, had the heaviest, reddest week out of all the sectors. But this could just be the higher low on the weekly time frame. Actually had a member, I love when I teach these things to the guys at TrueTrader, and then they point them out to me midweek. They're like, hey Ricky, check out XLE. Like all that red might have just put in the higher low on the weekly chart. To me, that's an example of it coming full circle, right? Teaching people and then it benefiting me. That's the best. Now, what I want to point out about this is even if this does turn out to be a higher low, the best look for these types of setups is when they're done really tight, right? What do I mean by that? Like this. So here you get the higher low on the weekly chart, but the range is from 45 to 49.70s or whatever, right? So like a 4-point range right here, but this one here is like from 65 up to 78, right? So the range is a lot wider. It's sloppier, right? It's hard to, if you're gonna wait for confirmation, you're gonna have terrible risk reward. If you want to anticipate, you got to do so on these dips, but you got, it's not nice and tight, right? But again, I hope for a little bit lower. I'm hoping for like one more week of follow through, come down to the weekly 50, and possibly look for longs in XLE. Same with XOP. We didn't get the higher low on the weekly chart yet here, or like not even the possibility of one, because we haven't broke the previous week's lows. But again, weekly 50, anywhere down here into this 115 to 117 area, I'll be looking for names to start to hold and possibly be getting long. All right, let's get into the actual scan ideas. Long setups, strong stocks looking for continuation. Let me scroll down on my list here. The first name, CRM, and you'll recognize this from, I believe it was last week's or 2 weeks ago, where I was talking, I wanted to get in on the pullback to the 20-day. I'm absolutely kicking myself for not getting that. Like, I had an alert go off. For whatever reason, I didn't put the trade on, and it hurts to look at. But you can't just take your eye off the ball because you missed what you wanted. This is setting up again, and I'm hoping we get a pullback to this 180 area where you got your 20-day curling up, your weekly 20 is flattening out, and you got your 180 is a round number, but you also have your quarterly pivot right there, as well as 3 days in a row put in lows right in that area, right? So I'm hoping to flush down to 180 for some scoops, so that we can try to get all aboard this train for the 193 break, right? We talked about that being the monthly trigger to get back to the monthly 20. It's actually a weekly trigger to end this weekly downtrend. It's been lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now we're into the weekly 20. We tried to head lower and we failed to do so if we get over this 190, let's see, 192.68 is the by the penny level. But again, just call it 193. And then it could be heading up to the monthly 20. So CRM, I want in, and it's not like I talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's not just a swing trade, right? I want it as a day trade. I want to buy a flush, an emotional flush into 180, and then look to lock the day trade in on a quick bounce. 2, 3, 4 points is very, very doable on a name like this. And then you just have cushion padding if it closes strong, and you have a small piece on that's a swing position, and you can just let it work, right? Then we break 193, then we can add to the position. We can get up to full size and never had full risk on until it started to work. The next idea is AFRM, and it triggered the same setup I was just pointing out is possible on CRM, okay? You have your weekly Now this one is more of a pseudo setup because this push here back in May didn't get up to the weekly 20. But you get this intermediate high, and then we tried to go lower and we failed. So then we broke those highs this week, and I got the alert. I had an alert set. I got the alert. And now I want to get on the train, but I'm not going to chase it. We're still in the bear market. I still am not going to pay up for things. I still want to buy the dips. So I'm looking for 20, what did I write down? 3170. And I know that sounds really close, right? Let me zoom in here. This is a 5-minute chart. So Wednesday, you can see we had all those highs. Friday, we came down and tested it. And then, or not Friday, Thursday, we came down and tested it, held. We gapped down on Friday. But look what it did. What I like about this is that we had that opening gap down, push down. We pushed up into that level and it rejected it first. Higher low, long trigger, right? So this level, 3170 is key for me. Now, if we gap down and we're like opening either around it or below it, then I got to adjust. Probably looking at like 30, maybe like Friday's lows. And what is that? Wednesday's pullback level. So 30 would be the next area. But if we don't gap down, maybe we gap up or something, 3170 is what I'm looking at first. Remember, that's for a day trade, and you can, if it closes strong and starts going, you can leave a piece on for a possible swing. If it doesn't close strong or leave you a cushion or work on the day trade, there's levels lower that I'm stalking, guys. Like, you have to believe that if this thing comes in, I don't have let me turn these extended hours on real quick. Let's see. Probably into this 20-day, 2640 would be like, please give me that. So as much as I want 3170, if I can get 2640s, which I doubt would happen all in one day, it could, but it might be a Tuesday, a Wednesday thing. I don't know, but I'd gladly give up the 3170 trade and take a small loss for the possibility of grabbing 2640s or 2650s or wherever that 20 days kind of lining up with some intraday levels from last week. So that's AFRM. And the last name on this list, this one's going to probably surprise some people, is Amazon. Why? Ricky, weren't you talking about Amazon short last Sunday prep? Yes, because we had this big gap up and it was giving these wicks up top, but it held that gap so well and started to push and got another little bit of a leg higher. I'm watching to see if this thing wants to just flush everyone out, like kind of gut check everyone, and come back down into this 135.50 area for some scoops and see if it just never wants to come and give this gap back, at least in the near term, and possibly push higher. So I am watching Amazon for a pullback into this 135.50 area. That's it for the strong stocks, looking for continuation. Next section is usually oversold reversion setups. Nothing in that section this week. Nothing's really that oversold. BAX and I believe NEM, I think, were from last week, and both of them are still kind of just sideways from where we looked at them last week. So nothing to really talk about. So now we're going to jump into the short setups, and we're looking at weak stocks looking for continuation. First one is Roku. And boy, oh boy, I am so surprised that this got all the way back up into the 20-day all last week, right? Like, it was just... now, this may just pull back, make higher lows, and get going again. I don't know. But I think that this has just been straight up into what we were saying, Baghdad, Bag City, Baggyville, whatever you want to call it. Lots of people, I think, are up in these levels because this chart was setting up so beautifully prior to the earnings miss, right? So I find it hard to believe that this isn't going to give us a retrace of this big move up. Now, there's two different ways I'll probably look to play this. One is versus last week's highs, Thursday's highs, which is kind of the 20-day up into those levels. And I'm making sure I'm not like, a lot of times when I do these guys, I freestyle, I just look at it and tell you what I see. But I have notes, and it cracks me up when I'm about to tell you something and I go, let me check my notes. And I look over and the notes say exactly what I'm about to freestyle. Because why? Because I'm literally just telling you the truth of what I see. And it's no different than what I saw a few days ago on Friday when I created this Sunday prep, right? And that is a push up into this monthly pivot 50 day and this trend line that was broke, right? 80, call it 88. 88 to, let's see, the 50 is 87 and yeah, anywhere between 87 and 88, guys. Next idea, PDD. The 20-day quarterly pivot and Thursday's high day. I want to spike up into their parabolic emotional spike off the open to fade that. That level just looks really, really gorgeous to me. So hoping for it. We'll see. And that's it for weak stocks looking for continuation. Next section. Overbought reversion setups. I'll save the best for last. We'll jump into this one first. This is CFLT, and this will be in. If you're in TrueTrader, you understand what I mean when I say when short scream. This is going to make the when short scream list. It's a candidate. If it gaps up and never gives back the previous day's highs in the opening 30 minutes. It will become an official member of the When Short Screen Club, and I'm hoping for the higher the better, right? So now, this used to not really be that tradable when we had the low volume times, but we had earnings on, was it Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday the volume's still there. Hopefully that we still have the volume on Monday. I want to see an exhaustion on this. So like I said, the higher the better. Look for a lower high, something to set risk against. I'm not going to try to guess a top line. And so, as I said, best for last. AMC, baby! This will be on the When Short Screen list as well. And the higher the better. Guys, this is all because of, they had earnings. If you guys don't follow the Ape Saga, they're issuing a version of a preferred equity 1-to-1. If you own a share of common, you get a share of Ape preferred equity, and it's going to end up as dilution, right? So currently they're just issuing 516 million of these because that's how many the OS is. So it's not going to cause immediate dilution because the people that own it will still own it and they'll just own more of it. They'll own the same percentage, right? But they're going to use it to issue another 4.5 billion of these to pay down debt, and then they're going to have a vote. It's going to be a vote to see if this can be converted to common, and then it will end up as dilution. And the apes are completely losing it this weekend on Twitter and on the spaces, and they're, I'm not trying to belittle them or put them down. A lot of them are newer to the markets and don't understand the games that go on, and they don't understand, the way this will play out. And a lot of times they don't even have a clue what some of the terminology means. Now, that's not to say all of them. Some of them have become extremely educated on market mechanics because of being involved in AMC. And so, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but if they don't understand that this will eventually lead to dilution, they're either lying to you or they're just not knowledgeable about it. Again, that doesn't even matter to me because the play is just the fact that this is speeding up, it's squeezing. When it has that emotional squeeze out, that blow off day, it's going to give back quite a bit of this move. And who knows if that happens at 30? Maybe we get back up into the mid 30s. I don't know. I'm not trying to guess a top. When it has the blow off, when there's lower highs and the trend changes, I will be there. Okay. I love trading this thing. You rarely find a stock at this price with this liquidity and the range that it's going to have, right? So the ATR currently is $1.60, but there's been times when, if we go back here, right, when it was a $30 stock and it had a $3 ATR, it's just a beautiful thing. That kind of range, that kind of liquidity, a lot of money to be made on both sides, right? So major flushes can be bought for bounces. This thing's not going to go straight down. It's going to have big bounces too. So guys, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to make money and feed my family. That's all the ideas I have. Let's see if there are some questions, and then I'm gonna wrap up. Let me see real fast. Raul's got a thread going. Let's see. All right. And remember, forgive me guys if I butcher names. I'm so sorry. Olayton Awe says, Ricky, do you think the market truly reversed and we're now in an uptrend, or could it retest 3640 again? Hopefully you kind of like got the answer to that question when we were talking about the broader market. Sometimes I don't know if you asked these questions before I talked about this or not, but again, the market did reverse. It reversed on the daily time frame. Remember, you can have an uptrend on one time frame and a downtrend on another time frame. On the weekly chart, this is a downtrend. Okay, we're still underneath the weekly 20. We're still, lower highs, lower lows, but you can still look at a daily chart and go, look, this isn't an uptrend. Lower highs or higher lows, higher highs. And if I said higher lows and higher highs on the weekly chart, forgive me, I meant lower highs and lower lows. On the daily chart, we're making higher highs and higher lows. This has been an uptrend since mid-June, okay? And the downtrend ended. Let me try to get rid of all the pivots and stuff. Sometimes it makes the chart really hard to see, but until, let's see, on July 20th was when the downtrend officially confirmed that it began an uptrend, because at that point we had still been making lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And it wasn't until on July 20th when we broke above the highs from June 27th when that trend reversed. But that's just the daily time frame. You still have the monthly chart and the weekly chart in downtrends, and you can't have a bull market until all those trends are in uptrends, right? So we still have a lot of work to do to get out of the bear market. It doesn't mean that this isn't the bottom. This could be the bottom. But again, it's not my job to dictate or predict. My job is to read the trend and create if-then statements so that I can make money. Hopefully that answers that question. Olayton says Moderna took XBI with it. Moderna CEO said they were handing out cash to investors, and I was like, wow. All right. And Elation also says, SPY 362 low was interesting to see in June and the 371 low last month. If there's another SPY flush, maybe it might not flush down to 362 again, though. Okay. Grandizer, any chance Roblox can go back to 21? Of course. Why wouldn't it be able to? It does. I mean, I'm not sure why you want it to go back to 21. Unless, if it goes back to 21, it's probably going a lot lower, right? So if Roblox is going to stay trying to trend up, it should never go back down to 21. At the lowest, I think maybe into the 28s, the 30 area. But you'd want to see it holding like 36, maybe 35, right? Maybe even the 20 day, like a pullback to 40, 42. It just depends like what you want, right? But something can, don't ask me, can it ever go back to 21? Anything can happen. It's the stock market. It just depends what is the narrative that you are hoping for, and are you, if you're praying that it goes back to 21, is it because you're short from there, or is it because you feel like you're scared you missed the train? Remember, guys, don't fall in love with stocks. These are just individual names. Trade setups. Don't trade the stock. Trade the setup, because who cares if you miss Roblox, there'll be more. Okay, there'll be other names. There'll be other companies that set up similar. Just study this, realize how you missed it, and then don't miss the next one. But don't fall in love with a single name. Javier says, Ricky, thoughts on Hilton short 136, 137 area and Lyft short 22. Hilton I don't trade because it's too liquid, but I'll look at the levels for you. 136 and what do you say? 136, 137. Yeah, so I know exactly what you're looking at. So this right here was the last failed breakout. Here's a retest of that level. Yeah. Whoops. Dude, for some reason it used to be I would draw one line like this, and then TradingView would change back to the pointer. Now it doesn't change back to the pointer. Okay, so yes, that would be the level that I think is important. What I would say is, if that is the last failed breakout, let's jump into the next time frame down and spot where was the subsequent short trigger after that, and that would be the 120-minute chart. And so the very next subsequent short trigger after this failed breakout is right in here. And so this would be a key level as well. So up into this 140 area, which is going to put you closer up to the 200 day. Again, I don't trade this name. The liquidity is just not there for me. But definitely a key level at that 136.50 area, and then up into this 140 area. Oh, and he asked about lift. Lift at 22. Lift. You know, the obvious level is where that gap down rejected the first time. Think about this, right? This gap down huge on earnings miss. Okay, it tried to rally. This was a pretty high volume day, obviously not as high as the earnings day, but this day here still traded how many shares? 43 million shares traded on this day on May 5th. And it rejected really hard at that 2280-ish level. Or is it 2282, okay? So anywhere up into 2282, which also puts you right into the weekly 20. Let's verify it real quick that it's the right level. No, the weekly 20 is actually 2196. But anywhere in the area, if it rips up into those levels, definitely think you're going to have some trouble getting through there on your first attempt. But if it gets above those levels and starts to hold and base, it may try to close that gap. I don't know. Uber was something else we were talking about in the room over the weekend, and this Uber play up into this 35.50 to 36 area has got my attention. And so both those names are on the watch list. Just because they don't make Sunday prep doesn't mean I'm not watching them, guys. Simon's asking me, did we discuss Tesla? No, nothing there for me. I mean, the only way I would play this, it did have a failed breakout. It is back below the 200 day. So what I would watch is for, just like we talked about, a retest of the subsequent short trigger. So a retest of the 200 day, 120 minute 20, and this 915 area. So a rip up into 915, I'm probably trying to fade Tesla. I would like it even better if this just continues lower first. The further we get away from this level, think about it like this, guys. This had a failed breakout. People probably rushed in to buy it. People thought we're back above the 200 day. We're going higher. Tesla's a cult, right? Like there's always buyers. There's always people trying to buy this thing. So this is what Javier's calling Baggyville. Cruz is calling Baghdad. Everybody up here, right, is bagged. Now, imagine you're bagged, and this thing doesn't come way down here. If it just comes right here and then bounces up here, you might not be near as gun or trigger happy to pull the trigger and sell your shares when it comes back up here as you would be if this thing comes way down to 760, 780, and you're stuck up at 900, and then it comes back to 900 and you're like, let me out. Okay, so I really like it when we get further and further away from Bag City, Baghdad, Baggyville, and then retest the underside of it, especially if it happens emotionally. But if Monday morning we rip up into 915 parabolic, I will be shorting that. Have zero idea if that's what Simon was asking me about Tesla. The only other levels I like would be maybe 780 to 800. 800 is that psychological level. It's lining up pretty nicely with the 200, or not the 200 day, the 20 day. But again, right now, I think that this uptrend just broke, right? So it's been in this big old uptrend. It just cracked on Friday. So that's a fresh wound. So I think there might be more downside, like a big spike into 915. Hopefully that helps you with that side. Jordan. Meta, watching for two things. Long idea if 172 breaks, but at the same time, relative weakness to market. So can Def see this test 155 under, I don't know if why. Let's go look at that. Is that yearly low or yesterday's low? It's yearly lows, right? And potentially break down the daily consolidation. Yeah, so below, you're absolutely right, Jordan, below that 155 area, and you got, it could get ugly. It could get really ugly. especially after this rally rejected, right? You had this big rally, and it, honest to God, I have these lines drawn because I was praying to get short into these levels, and I can't remember what happened. That maybe it was Snap's earnings or something. Good Lord, I can't remember what caused it, but dude, it just fell short of getting there, and then we fell apart. So, you know, you had a lot of people thinking this push was going to start getting us going, and now we're back into this consolidation area. So under 155, it could really fall apart. So he says, long idea if 172 breaks. Let's see, where's 172? Yeah, like obviously you definitely have room up to like the 185 area. Again, like, let's see, let me look at a weekly chart. Yeah, I mean, it could get going. When I look at charts like that, and you know what, I may come tomorrow morning or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, I may like look at Meta and go, I feel like a complete idiot for saying what I'm about to say to you. But when I look at it, over 172, yes, it could get going, but I can't say it should, right? So like I always come back to this, like we can always have an idea of what could happen. But I only want to put money on the table when I think that I can, with pretty high level of confidence, say something should happen. And that's not that often, right? So over 172, could it get going? Of course it could. But should it? I don't know why it should. Because it could. I think it's more of a coin flip, right? But like I said, just because I think something's a coin flip, one, doesn't mean I'm right. I could be completely wrong. But because I have no money on it, it doesn't matter to me. But two, just because what you're thinking happens, don't mistake that with like Ricky was wrong. It just could be that like the coin landed on heads, right? It could have been a 50-50 idea, and like price does what you thought it would do, and you go, I'm a genius, I was right. And we all do this. I'm not saying you, Jordan, I'm talking about every one of us, right? We might think that we see something, and if price does what we thought, we think we're a genius. And the worst thing we can do is not recognize that it could have just been a 50-50 coin flip. And you always have a 50% chance of being right on a coin flip, right? It doesn't make you a genius. So we have to be very, very blunt with ourselves, very honest with ourselves, and very objective. We have to look at something and say, did I get lucky there, or was there a reason that what I saw should happen? Okay. Now I don't know what your strategy is or what you trade, but from what I know about what I trade, right? I'm looking for, I need to see a failed short, meaning I need to see this thing try to come lower first and fail to do so before I would say over 172 should send it. Okay. Because at that point, then I can say something should happen over a certain level. Mara wedging on daily had the failed break over 1420, but liking the way it's still holding higher lows. Whoops. Let's do these drawing tools. Holding higher lows, and can see this at 18 to 20. Oh yeah. Dude, Mara chart looks really, really good. Like this looks just like XBI did, right? Right here, where we're kind of going sideways and holding a very key level. Mara could get going. And you know why? You know what Mara has going for it that makes it probably even more desirable? Is that most people know it's a big piece of shit and hate it. When people feel that way about something, watch out, all right? So I like Mara. Netflix has that same look. Is that what you're saying? It says Netflix, high beta technical trade, getting extremely tight, yes. Gets out of the 230 range, beeline to 250, and if this tries to fill the earnings report gap, anyone short since 420 will be underwater. Yeah, like it looks a lot like Mara, holding over these levels, right? So the only way I would play it though, like I know you're looking for a break above these, this consolidation, this flag, right? But if I were trying to get in on this, it'd be on a flush down to 208, 210, something like that. All right, hopefully that helps, Jordan. And thank you, because, dude, Mara and Netflix, great eye. And hopefully, like, what I was talking about with Meta resonates to some degree with you. Ray God says, BE for a long. Not for me. The sector looks great. Now, obviously, if I'm looking to trade BE, it's on the short side just because we're getting extended. I'd be looking to fade this into 27. The only way I'd long this is a flush down to the 200-day 2080s or something emotionally, but it's $1.40 ATR, and that's, you know, that's 3.5, 4 points away. So I don't know if it's going to get down there or not. If it were to, I would probably be a buyer down there. Grandizer says, what do you think of HKD? Made GME and AMC look like a joke. But the thing is they're not the same thing. HKD is related to AMTD, and we talked about AMTD in, I think, last Sunday prep or the one before that, and there's things in the filings like these guys own HKD, and they did a pipe. There's a bunch of reasons why, you know, HKD is actually not that surprising, and it's honestly, I don't know a lot of people that even traded it, period. I was very vocal in TrueTrader about it, like, hands off, there's nothing here. A lot of people on Twitter were smart enough to point out, like, why would you trade that? If you wanted to trade HKD, you just traded AMTD, right? It had the liquidity and the tightness in the spread, and you could trade this safely and smart or intelligently. HKD is just like, if you traded HKD, I told you guys I'm going to be in Vegas in October for Traders for a Cause. Maybe I'll see you at the roulette table. KH is saying, like the Roku idea short, Ricky. Also looking at mRNA, but not sure it's a good idea to go short on mRNA. I would need it to go. I'd need it higher first, right? Like, it just broke out. It's pulling back. It's holding some key levels. There's no short there at all. The only way I'd be shorting mRNA is maybe into the 230s or something, like far, far away from here. I still kind of like it long, actually. Remember, that sector is just behaving really well. It was a really beaten down sector. mRNA is actually pretty damn beaten down, right? And there's, like, look at what it lines up with too, right? Look at this flag over here, this whole consolidation period with this consolidation period, right? That, I mean, this area being the spot that holds and starts to push, isn't that surprising? Sorry, let me get rid of that drawing because I don't want that on there next week. Dylan says, unlock your stay in. Oh, is that this thing here? Boom. Dylan, you're the man, bro. Thank you, Dylan. Oh, this is what I'm talking about. It comes full circle. You help people, they help you. Thank you, Dylan. ZZ says, have you ever correlated VIX to be an accurate gauge for broader market volatility? I use VIX to know how to trade my setups. That's it, right? So, like, I track VIX so that I can see how my setups perform when VIX is at certain levels. And that's it. That's the only thing I do with it. Josh, if Lyft closes that gap, I will be there waiting at the gates of Baggyville. Especially if it does so emotionally. 100%, brother. Same here. Lane, could you explain what happened with MQ at the end of last week on Thursday? I had a great time trading it with Adri, but could you explain the thoughts on the setup and squeeze? Honestly, I mean, I didn't trade it because I didn't know what was going on. Me and Adri talked about it later, and he was just saying that they had lost a contract or somebody that made up a substantial part of their business, and that was why it had the big sell-off. Again, like I said, I didn't trade it, but if you're in TrueTrader, you guys obviously probably were watching this and seeing how it behaved, and like, dude, there was definitely some trades in here. Because I didn't understand what was happening, I was trading them like 5 or 6 other names that morning. I had no need to trade this, but it was hella tradable, right? Like, down, 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 down. As soon as it starts to rebound, never made new lows, right? And this is really the first attempt at a bounce. But then, what did it do? It went straight up. So, like, Lane, I'm not sure if you're asking about the long or the short, because I see you saying the setup and squeeze. But I know Adri faded it twice, right? He faded it on this fade, and he also faded it up here. So I'm not 100% sure which setup you're wondering about. This was just buying the emotional flush into the daily levels, right? If you guys look at the daily chart, you see there's lots of, we're really getting down into some levels that haven't been tested for quite a while. And we did so emotionally, right? Like, look how far this stock, this is an $7 stock at the lows. And at the lows, the 1 minute 20 was at 930. 2 points. A $7 stock, 2 points away from the 1 minute 20. At the very least, it's going to take a pause and go sideways. And at best, it's going to attack the 1 minute 20. That's just the way things can't just go straight down forever. Same way they don't just go straight up forever. It doesn't mean you have to just step in front of it while it's going down, right? You can wait for this price action here to show you, okay, I think it's trying to find a bottom. And at that point, your risk is set. You have your target. Put the trade on. Let it work. Hopefully that answers that question, because I wasn't too familiar with it, other than I know that you guys all traded it. I was trading, I don't remember what day this was. It was, what is the 4th? The 4th was Thursday. I'm trying to remember what I traded Thursday. I was on voice that morning, right? You guys should remember. All right, guys. If that's all we have in the questions, I'm going to call it and wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys as always. Remember, life is effing short, so do something about it. Do not spend it. Time is your most valuable resource, and it's finite, and it's getting smaller by the second. Stop wasting it. Every time you catch yourself wasting time, get upset and then correct it. Go find something better to do with your time. If it's spending time with your kids or your wife or your family and friends, great. Do it and be present while you do it. If it's putting time into honing your craft, then do it and stop looking at Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and HBO, and get your priorities straight, guys. And remember, just always remember, you're going to face adversity. Instead of being somebody that complains about it, instead of being somebody that does nothing to fix it, do something that's going to separate you from the pack. Everybody complains when they face adversity. What does that mean you need to do to separate yourself from them? Be the person that changes a negative into a positive. Separate yourself from the pack. Find the positivity in the negatives. All right, guys? I will see you all hopefully in TrueTrader. Remember, check us out. Use the YouTube code for 20% off, or long haul in all caps if you want the longer subscription, or at very least, guys, check us out and use the trial. Like 5 days. Tuesday, we're doing a hot seat episode with one of our members, which are always great learning opportunities. So if you were to sign up for the trial period, the 5-day trial, you'll be able to watch the hot seat live. Come see how we operate, guys. If not, I'll see you in the markets. Hope everybody trades well this week. Plan your trades, trade your plan, guys. Peace.